With a stroke of my pen on day one, we're going to stop the transgender lunacy.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the channel. On January 20th, 2025, Donald Trump was sworn in as the 47th President of the United States. With his arrival came a decisive shift in American politics, especially when it comes to the ongoing battle over woke culture.
As of today, it will henceforth be the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female.
Trump made it clear that he would end it once and for all. In this video, we're focusing on one of the most controversial aspects of his presidency, his encounters with the LGBT+ community. From rhetoric to policy, Trump's interactions have left a lasting impact, often sparking both praise and outrage. Let's take a closer look at some of his most memorable moments with the LGBTQ+ community and explore what these encounters really mean for the culture wars.
We'll take a couple of quick questions, and then I'll shake a few hands. Question, ma'am, go ahead. Hello.
Hi, welcome, President Trump.
Thank you.
Okay, so you kind of already answered my question a little bit, but my question was, when you become president again, what would the first thing you'll do to fix our current school system and even our current military that's only focusing on teaching woke gender ideology over learning the basics of life and history and protecting us?
So, good question. Some of it partially answered, but not all. With the military, we're ending woke immediately. You know, I ended woke, totally. And then in their first week, they reestablished it. It's crazy. They pay instructors hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. It literally, literally, they want our military to be woke. And it's just not going to happen. You read in Hawaii where they had the horrible fire where they have people going there. And before they bring them on board, they have to study woke for a week. Can you believe this? In other words, everyone's wanting to get back to their home, finding the bodies. It was such a tragedy. You don't read about it too much anymore, but hell is going on over there. And they want to give them classes in essentially wokeness. Can you believe? So, you know, you've seen it. Well, we'll end that very quickly.
In this fiery response, Donald Trump declares an all-out war on woke ideology in the military and schools. He slams the current administration for reinstating woke policies he had eliminated, accusing them of prioritizing gender ideology over real military readiness. Trump ridicules the idea of forcing soldiers to sit through woke training instead of learning how to protect the country, even referencing the devastating Hawaii fires as an example of misplaced priorities. Turning to education, he exposes the absurdity of America spending 3 times more per student than any other nation, yet still ranking at the bottom. His solution: let states like Iowa take charge and slash the bureaucratic waste that Washington thrives on. With his signature mix of outrage and humor, Trump promises to immediately dismantle wokeness and restore common sense in both schools and the military.
I think that we can have one of the best school systems in the world. Right now we have one of the worst. They basically rate 40 countries, and we're always at close to the bottom of the list, sometimes the bottom of the list, and spending more money than anybody else. So we're going to take care of all of your needs very quickly, and I think it's going to happen very quickly. And one of the things we're doing, closing the border day one and starting drilling for oil.
Next up, in this explosive exchange, Donald Trump goes head-to-head with a woke activist over transgender policies in schools and sports. Trump wastes no time, making it clear that parents, not bureaucrats, should decide what's taught to their children. When pressed on the issue of gender ideology, he shuts it down instantly.
Some of the fellas are concerned about what's happening in the schools.
Yeah.
And they want a parent. Yeah. They don't want all this nonsense being taught to their children.
You're not into transgender, right?
And
you don't want your boy going to school.
So what are you going to do about that?
We're going to end it. It ends immediately.
The conversation then shifts to the absurdity of biological men competing in women's sports. Trump highlights the insanity of forcing young women, like the activist's own daughter, to wrestle men.
Yeah, but she doesn't want to wrestle a man, right?
Well, in New York, they have yet to segregate, in the high schools, they have yet to segregate male and female in wrestling. So she was wrestling against boys.
She's very good?
She was good.
So let me ask you, how would she have done against an average man?
Who? Her?
Your daughter, yeah.
She would have done pretty. I've seen her pin young men in high school.
Even when the activist claims his daughter has pinned male opponents before, Trump isn't buying it. The reality, he argues, is simple. Men shouldn't be competing in women's sports, period. With his trademark humor and blunt honesty, Trump obliterates the woke narrative, defending fairness in competition and common sense in education. And again, still in the issue of trans men competing in women's sports, in classic Trump fashion, he delivers a blistering and hilarious takedown of men competing in women's sports, calling it so crazy that it defies common sense. Ignoring political consultants who warn him not to say it, he boldly declares, "We should not allow men to play in women's sports."
And by the way, we should not allow men to play in women's sports.
He paints a vivid picture of a dedicated female swimmer, training her whole life to break a record by a fraction of a second, only to lose to a biological male who smashes it by 38 seconds. With sharp wit, Trump jokes that the competitor's sheer speed practically gave his female rivals windburn.
It's crazy. I tell the story of the great swimmer, great female swimmer. Wonderful woman, beautiful woman. She's been swimming for many years. She wants to break the world record. And she's at the pool, and she wants to break it by an eighth of a second. That's like fast. And she's going to do it. She's getting ready, and she looks down. She sees all people she's been competing with for years because they rise to the top. And she looks over here, and she sees people. But then she looks, and they call this. They say this. She's somebody with a man's body. That's what they do. They call it. I said, "You think it's okay to say that?" That's actually the expression they're using. They'll change that soon, so I have to do it quickly. I have to say it, because they're going to change it. And you know the guy. He was named Female Athlete of the Year. Did you know that? It's true. He was just named female. We're not dealing with things that are so easy here, Newt. This is a difficult, crazy world. You'd almost say, is the world going crazy? Because 99% of the things I'm saying are common sense. But she looks over and sees her friends down there, and then she looks, and this guy is massive. He's got a wingspan. He's got arms that are 30 feet long. And I always say, and she was seriously injured during the meet because he swam so fast that he gave her major wind burn as he went by her. And she didn't break the record, but he broke the record that day. You know what the number was? 38 seconds. So she wanted to break it by an eighth of a second, and he broke it by 38 seconds.
He also mocks the absurdity of a male weightlifter shattering a long-standing women's record with ease, while lifelong female athletes struggle to add mere ounces.
Or the weightlifter, I think it was like 218 pounds. I know, that's a lot. I can't lift it. I don't know who can. Any of our ex-Trump people, they're all Trump people. Kevin's saying he can lift it. I don't know about that, Kevin, but that's a lot. 218 pounds, and she got over that weight, and she was going to break it. They put a half an ounce here, half little tiny ring on top of these big barbells, dumbbells. Then they go, and she went like this. She got to break it. Stood for 11 years. And her mother and father are screaming, "You got it! You got it, darling. I'm so proud of my girl." Well, she couldn't do it. And then this guy comes along. He's named Alice. And he looks at the weight. World record, world record. We could have put another couple of 100 pounds on. I think he would have lifted her. It's so disrespectful to women. And they say it's politically incorrect. It's so disrespectful to women.
Then, in peak Trump humor, he imagines himself as the greatest women's basketball coach in history, recruiting LeBron James for his all-time unbeatable team. "LeBron, did you ever want to be a woman?" he quips, saying no opponent would come within 70 points of his dream team. But beyond the humor, Trump gets serious. This issue isn't just unfair, it's disrespectful to women. He calls out how female athletes are afraid to speak up, fearing cancellation. With signature bluntness, he vows to make it okay to talk about it again. This is Trump at his best, fearless, funny, and utterly ruthless against woke insanity.
And I'll tell you what, if I were ever, I'd be the greatest women's basketball coach in history. Because I don't like LeBron James. I like Michael Jordan much better. But I'd go up to LeBron James. It doesn't matter. I'd say, "LeBron, did you ever have any desire to be a woman?" Because what I'd love you to do is star on my team that I'm building up. I will have the greatest team in history. They'll never lose. Nobody will come within 70 points of this team. The left-wing gender insanity being pushed on our children is an act of child abuse. Very simple. Here's my plan to stop the chemical, physical, and emotional mutilation of our youth. On day one, I will revoke Joe Biden's cruel policies on so-called gender-affirming care. Ridiculous. A process that includes giving kids puberty blockers, mutating their physical appearance, and ultimately performing surgery on minor children. Can you believe this? I will sign a new executive order instructing every federal agency to cease all programs that promote the concept of sex and gender transition at any age. I will then ask Congress to permanently stop federal taxpayer dollars from being used to promote or pay for these procedures and pass a law prohibiting child sexual mutilation in all 50 states. It'll go very quickly. I will declare that any hospital or healthcare provider that participates in the chemical or physical mutilation of minor youth will no longer meet federal health and safety standards for Medicaid and Medicare and will be terminated from the program immediately.
Donald Trump delivers a scorching takedown of left-wing gender ideology, calling it what it is, an act of child abuse. With signature bluntness, he lays out his day one plan to eradicate gender transition procedures for minors, revoke Biden's policies, and stop taxpayer dollars from funding what he calls the chemical, physical, and emotional mutilation of children. He vows to shut down hospitals and health providers, pushing puberty blockers and surgeries on minors by stripping them of Medicaid and Medicare funding.
Furthermore, I will support the creation of a private right of action for victims to sue doctors who have unforgivably performed these procedures on minor children. The Department of Justice will investigate Big Pharma and the big hospital networks to determine whether they have deliberately covered up horrific long-term side effects of sex transitions in order to get rich at the expense of vulnerable patients, in this case, very vulnerable. We will also investigate whether Big Pharma or others have illegally marketed hormones and puberty blockers which are in no way licensed or approved for this use. My Department of Education will inform states and school districts that if any teacher or school official suggests to a child that they could be trapped in the wrong body, they will be faced with severe consequences, including potential civil rights violations for sex discrimination and the elimination of federal funding. As part of our new credentialing body for teachers, we will promote positive education about the nuclear family, the roles of mothers and fathers, and celebrating rather than erasing the things that make men and women different and unique. I will ask Congress to pass a bill establishing that the only genders recognized by the United States government are male and female, and they are assigned at birth. The bill will also make clear that Title IX prohibits men from participating in women's sports, and we will protect the rights of parents from being forced to allow their minor child to assume a gender which is new and an identity without the parents' consent. The identity will not be new, and it will not be without parental consent.
Not stopping there, he plans to launch investigations into Big Pharma and hospital networks for profiting off vulnerable kids while covering up the long-term consequences of these procedures. Can you believe this? He exclaims, outraged at what he sees as a money-making scheme disguised as healthcare. Trump doesn't just want to stop these practices, he wants victims to have the power to sue doctors who perform these procedures on them as minors. His plan also includes punishing teachers and schools that push gender ideology on children, cutting off federal funding, and hitting them with civil rights violations. In a bold move, he promises to redefine gender under U.S. law, ensuring that male and female, assigned at birth, are the only recognized genders. He also seeks to enshrine in law that Title IX prohibits men from competing in women's sports and that no child can transition without parental consent. Trump ridicules the entire ideology, saying no serious country should be telling its children they were born in the wrong body. He calls it a radical left invention that has never existed in human history until recently, and under his leadership, he vows this madness will end.
No serious country should be telling its children that they were born with the wrong gender, a concept that was never heard of in all of human history. Nobody's ever heard of this, what's happening today. It was all when the radical left invented it just a few years ago. Under my leadership, this madness will end.
In this next clip, Trump claps back at woke woman who calls him a misogynist.
Okay, so maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you can prove me wrong, but I don't think that you're a friend to women.
A woke woman tries to put Donald Trump on the spot, accusing him of not being a friend to women. But Trump doesn't hesitate. He fires back instantly. With his trademark confidence, he lays out his long history of empowering women, pointing out that he's hired women for top positions, long before anyone else in the construction industry even considered it. He reminds her that a woke woman was in charge of building Trump Tower and did a fantastic job. He also highlights how his wife, Melania, and daughter, Ivanka, constantly push him to focus on women's health issues because they know he genuinely cares.
I respect women incredibly. I have had women working for me in positions that they've never worked in terms of construction, in terms of so many different jobs. I had a woman who was in charge of the building of Trump Tower many years ago, before anybody would have even thought of it, and did a fantastic job. I have given women more opportunity than I would say virtually anybody in the construction industry. I have a daughter named Ivanka and a wife named Melania who constantly want me to talk about women's health issues because they know how I feel about it, and they know how I feel about women.
And then, in peak Trump fashion, he throws in the kicker. I respect women. I love women. I cherish women. But you know, Hillary Clinton said I shouldn't say that. I said I do cherish women.
I respect women. I love women. I cherish women. You know, Hillary Clinton said he shouldn't cherish. Well, I said I do cherish. I cherish women. My mother was one of the great people of the world, maybe the greatest ever, my mother. I respect women, and I'm going to take care of women. You know, Jeb Bush didn't want to fund women's health issues. You read that. You saw that. And then he took it back later. I will take care of women, and I have great respect for women, and I do cherish women.
But the woman isn't done. She fires back with the classic woke talking points. Will women make the same as men? And do I get to choose what I do with my body?
I want to get paid the same as a man, and I think you understand that. So if you become president, will a woman make the same as a man? And do I get to choose what I do with my body?
Trump shrugs off the gotcha attempt, making it clear that his policies will ensure fair opportunities for women, not just empty slogans. And as for protecting the country, he'll take care of women and everyone by keeping America safe from threats both foreign and domestic.
You're going to make the same if you do as good a job.
Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this epic Trump moment as much as we did. If you had a good laugh or just a solid facepalm at the woke madness, make sure to smash that like button, drop a comment, and of course, hit that subscribe button so you never miss a beat. And remember, don't be a wokey. Stay based, stay free, and we'll see you in the next one.